just scrap the actual show. I think we're on. Yeah. You can go for it, Chris. Special guest. We're there. Yep, you can fade it out. That was the best quality intro music we've had yet, as far as like how well I could hear it. Do you have a new setup over there? All right. 28, maybe. Yeah, I don't know either. I'm not sure. I'm doing well. It's Thursday, which means it's almost the weekend, which is only slightly different in that, I wake up and don't walk straight to my computer. So feeling good. How about you? Oh my. Oh my. I don't know if I can endorse that. But Dave, welcome. Welcome to the show. We have Dave Sanford with us. How are you? I know. Have you had any Zoom mishaps yet? On any calls? Anything weird happen? Yeah. Nice. Nothing. I don't think anything's happened on ours yet either. Uh, Actually, hold on, folks. Somebody just commented that they can't hear everyone, so I'm gonna check the. I'm gonna check. Can you only hear me?
It was literally like mid sentence on this portion. It's like, hold on, it's getting a little crazy behind me. So that's been new for sure.
I bet, man. That's going to be happening more and more with our staff too. Katie, I just
All right, you're in now. Sorry, I fixed it.
I love it. I mean, we definitely have some people listening though. Laura Harmon, shout out. She's sending texts that she can't hear us. I love it.
Somebody give us a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear now. I think I fixed it.
Awesome. I mean, we can play OAR again if we need to.
Now they can hear. Wow.
No, Dave, just being away from the field and things like that, just wanted to check in, like, how are you handling your downtime just personally? Like, what have you found that you like to do or have been able to sort of do again outside of soccer?
Yeah, no, I think, from everything that's going on and the seriousness, it's kind of affected everybody in my immediate circle of friends and family. It has been an interesting time where now the best medicine is friends and family, and just kind of connecting with, I've never been on more FaceTime calls with some of my brothers. I got 3 older brothers. So kind of seeing what they're up to, and everybody's in the same situation and sharing stories. And I got 7 or 8 nieces and nephews running around. So just kind of catching up with them has been kind of the most wow, forgot about you guys. Stuck in my world up here in DC, where they're all in kind of southwestern part of Virginia, a very slower pace. But that's been the biggest thing. And then obviously, I thought I kicked the habit of video games, Chris, but the Xbox is back on with FIFA, and I opened up a Christmas gift that I hadn't even started FIFA 20 that was given to me, and definitely fired that thing up pretty quick.
There you go. I mean, I have to do it now. I got PS4, so I gotta dust it off a little bit. I gotta do it.
Oh man,
I'm in Division 4 now. I've gotten promoted a few times. I'm moving up the ranks. So
pretty good.
Next episode, Chris will be just like haggard, like clearly hasn't slept, just been gaming, for a solid 72 hours.
I'm already there. Just imagine after I start gaming, Katie.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. All right, now that you can hear us, I guess, Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? I have your people on the screen can see it says DC United Academy Head Coach Operations Director. Tell us a little bit about what you do in your background.
Yeah, I think, the new role now is Academy Director, so that's kind of been the biggest change on the professional front as of late, with Ryan Martin going up to the USL with Loudoun United. And, just to date back to me and kind of the soccer background, I'm much like a lot of the kids that we coach. I was started in youth soccer. I think my first introduction to DC United was 1998, like the first ever MLS youth team. So a shout out to Andrew Quinn.
Wow.
From DeMatha, he was on that team. Johnny Orlando from Capital FC was on that team. So it's come full circle with DC United and kind of the youth ranks with the first ever MLS youth team. So that's pretty cool as far as my background with the club. And then moving through, I'm in Northern Virginia. I'm from Fredericksburg, so I played at Stafford Soccer and then Braddock Road, and then moved on up this way, professionally, but, had a pit stop in Harrisonburg, Virginia, at James Madison University, playing there, had a fun time at the college ranks, and then playing the DCU 20s, like the summer ball Super Y League. I think that's still running around, Chris, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And then I was actually PDL teammates with Matt Lacey, another local guy. So, that was all fun, as far as the playing background. And again, it's all come full circle for me. And I started at the club. I think, Chris, you were around, we would probably cross paths and know each other that well. In 2009, I was an intern with the camp program, and it was like John Harks and John Maisner.
Yeah, for sure.
And those guys. And then after college, Catholic University and basically a bunch of DC United camps, U18 assistant coach in the academy, U15s, doing the after-school programming and all that. And that was kind of the first introduction to kind of like professional coaching after the playing background, which was a fun time. But at some point, somebody tells you you're not good enough to play anymore, and this love for soccer, you got to find a way to keep it going. And this was the best way for me.
What did the academy? So when you first joined with DC United playing wise, what did that? I mean, briefly just describe what it looked like back then, because the DA and all that wasn't hadn't started up yet. So who did you guys play against? What was the league structure like?
Yeah, it was just like DC United Super 20s. It was just a summer, like 4-month league, similar to what the PDL model kind of morphed into. We went up to, we were all over. It was like Charlotte, Independence, I think, had a team. The Charlotte Dynamo was around. So we went south a lot. And then we also went up to like Harrisburg City Islanders, some of those clubs in the USL that were part of that kind of Super Y League time. It was fun. It was just a real mixed bag of guys from college and club, and There's a handful of guys from Braddock Road that were on that team, but it was a really good experience, and obviously it was fun to put on the DC United kit and kind of be a part of the organization as a player in some way, shape, or form. We had one match where we played the reserves back when the reserve league was around and got crushed. But
I thought you were gonna say beat up,
no,
Patrick.
no. It was they were clearly frustrated to have to deal with us, and we were all running our tails off trying to prove ourselves. But it was a fun experience. But yeah, it was just a summer league team, and it was pretty cool.
What's your current role like in your day to day? What's the mix of coaching versus sort of director role?
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting transformation for me. I'm no longer a head coach of a team, so that's been the biggest change for me professionally is not having a group of kind of players that you identify yourself with and really work with closely. Now it's kind of dealing with the coaches and helping them and setting them up for success. But then on the opposite side, you help run the whole gamut of all the travel that we kind of take place, whether it's internationally or domestically, and just kind of the weekly outline of getting to and from some of the road trips and making sure facilities are all set up. So there's definitely fine lines, and then a big piece of it, to be honest with you, with the addition of with Loudoun United, the first team and the movement of players kind of in that system, that's a big chunk of it, with players going to train with Loudoun United, train with the first team. How does that affect the 17s, the 19s, and the movement of players between 3 teams, 4 teams? That's a big juggling act and requires a lot of communication with everybody, parents, family, and the different situations. So that's also, aside from that, that's added a lot of time to my plate as far as getting that done. And then a big piece of it is the community too, right? We're trying to really double down our efforts with the P2P program. I kind of head that up from our end and really restructuring our affiliates as well.
Before we talk about P2P, because I do want to ask them about that, it's kind of interesting because sort of as you transitioned into this role of overseeing the coaches, it's like now you have to do it virtually, and everything you might have had planned for them or were working on coaching education, maybe in person or whatever, is totally different and new. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what your coaches are doing now, maybe what you're finding that's working, how you made that quick switch.
For sure. It was, this isn't something that my A license or the French license taught me.
Oh, really?
We're like, we've actually transitioned fairly well. We try to keep consistent with our, standing meetings. Tuesdays are all staff meeting where we all touch base on technical and operational. And that's just kind of been, what's the federation update? What's the MLS update? What's everybody thinking? And obviously there's just not much more information out there. So very theoretical meeting, but just planning contingency plans in place and if and when things happen. And then on Thursday, we have our technical meeting, which, instead of being in the room together and having a dry erase board and a TV where everybody's kind of sharing screens and doing different presentations. So we kind of haven't missed a beat there. With the players, of course, that's been the biggest change. And I think the easiest one that came to mind immediately was nobody knew how long this was going to go. And it was like, let's just keep them fit. It's going to be a week or two. We'll get through it. So we sent out, a 4-week fitness plan for the kids. And that was just like our initial thought. And then as it progressed, we ramped up, individual meetings, team meetings. So whether it's Nate Kish in U15 did a KPI meeting that was really interesting that we tried to showcase a bit on social media. And then, they're all the kids are on Slack. So they submit their workout videos and then each coach can just have a quick direct message, whether it's, a 2 to 3 minute check-in with the kid or just, hey, we're thinking about you. Let us know if you need anything. And I think that's the biggest one is everybody safe? Is everybody all right emotionally? How are you doing? And then, hey, soccer's comfortable thing, which that's where we started. And if you're comfortable with the soccer side and can move forward with it, everybody's been good about that as well.
Hey, that's awesome. Can you talk a little bit more about like how you track what players do? I know that you mentioned that they submit their workout videos. What is that process like? What programs do you use for that, like Google Drive or something like that?
Right.
Just maybe
Right.
if you could expand a little bit more about that.
For sure. So each team's kind of different. We're starting to streamline it a little bit more now that we're out of the first phase. But a good example is the 17s. They have a challenge going amongst the group with different points, and if you upload your video with your run that shows proof of your run, you get an extra point on top of just the thing that I did it. So Slack's the big one for how we're tracking it, along with every coach is in a Google Suite with like a scoreboard system of some sort, and basically using Google Suite to track what they're doing, but also they kind of hold each other accountable as well, like you know having a little bit of banter about somebody's video, or some small talk about, hey, where's your video to a certain player, why haven't you posted yet? And there's team captains inside of that, so it's pretty autonomous as coaches. We really tried to set it up for them to drive the ship, so to speak, and just really they got to take ownership of this portion of time. It's not something we can drive too much, but kind of just influence them. And to be fair, they've all bought in pretty well.
How do you? And just one more question on that is just, have you noticed any sort of trends with players in terms of their nerves? Right, like this is something they've also never experienced, and I imagine, especially at the academy or the DC United MLS Academy level, that players could get concerned about how they're going to be able to perform when they come back and what level they're going to be performing at. How have some of your coaches sort of helped to either minimize those nerves that may come from players, or to help them manage it?
Yeah, no, it's run the gamut. So when we have those meetings on Tuesdays, and when everybody kind of reports in on what they've done, and we have a kind of a reporting document, it's run the gamut. Some kids in some age groups are worried about college and what that looks like, and just trying to be, we're leaning on our friends and colleagues in the game to learn about kind of how the college coaches are handling this. And again, it's all theory based, but just saying, take it day by day, slow down. We'll be here to support you and get you through anything you need. And then, there's other folks that, again, are more nervous about, their family, or their mom or dad, and working and what's going on in the home life, and bringing us into kind of that picture and how we can support them and just give them advice from afar on how to handle those personal situations, because some people are going through some definite tough times with this scenario, and how it's affecting their work life.
On that note, before we transition, I feel like I read somewhere some things that your players were doing unrelated to soccer, but related to, this time. Can you remind me what that is?
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely in the community. That's a big piece of it. I think one of the teams came up with donation bins in their local area that they could donate some clothes.
Cool.
To drop it off, and we felt there was not much risk to that for a player to try to get back to their community. We've been doing one player in our U15, Dale. He has a video. I'm going to share it with DMV Union. He's making face masks to give out to people in his community, and he put together like a little how-to video. It was quite neat. And then from a organization side and ticketing, we've made some with the digital team, kind of teamed up with them for some at-home skill videos that we're kind of sharing for kids to stay busy and maybe inspire them to do some drills at home, and just again try to break up their day, because the kids are experiencing a bit of a shock as well, and trying to provide some structure. I think the parents have really appreciated us staying in contact with them and providing structure today. That was my first initial concern: is anybody even going to be interested in soccer at this time? Like, is now the time? And as we've kind of progressed, everybody's been very appreciative of the work and kind of the structure that we provided to their player and support. And parents are in these videos that they're submitting, and mom and dad may be filming, or the brother and sister are filming. So it's kind of bringing the household together that, hey, I got to go hop on a Zoom call, or hey, can somebody come film me juggling or dribbling through my sneakers or cones or whatever I may have. So in a way, it's kind of I found that it's brought the family closer together in some ways.
Yeah, that's really cool. Good to hear as well. So let's transition to P2P. First of all, what does that stand for? And tell us a bit about the P2P program, because that's how ASA and Chris started working with you initially, I think, and have done some partnering in that sort of programming.
No, P2P was kind of the brain trust of Dave Casper and Ryan Martin. So
Mm-hmm.
it was all created before I transitioned to kind of the head of the academy. But it stands for Pathway to Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a long history of us, being in the community, and there's a lot of mixed messaging that goes on about DC United, the pro club, and how we go about acquiring players and what those relationships look like. And P2P was kind of internally, we have these discussions of how we can manage relationships to get top players, knowing that they have somewhere else that they've been, and the coaches and the clubs are also invested.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an initiative to put the players first. So,
Mm-hmm.
Alexandria obviously joined up. You have Pipeline, Loudoun, Arlington, BDA. So all these clubs have said, all right, DC United, we believe in your pathway. We believe in, okay, you do have a different set of resources at a certain time. And it is just, from a player standpoint, it's been great because we're getting in touch with them, and we can speak more about that. But I think from a coach's collaboration and just the ability to communicate and be open about and honest about, hey, yeah, we're interested in this player. Let's have a conversation, develop a plan, and everybody feels a part of it. So, Noel Calix is a good example that a player within Alexandria, Drew, the goalkeeper, who's heavily involved from you guys directly, is, Chris and I are having open, honest conversations about those kids, what they look like, how we can help, and transition them to DC United and put them on our pathway, so to speak, and try to help them chase the dream. But that brings Chris and Alexandria with it. It just doesn't need to be Dave Sanford and DC United staff. No, we want to keep Alexandria a part of the process, even though he may transition out of the club.
Yeah.
And with everybody else within it.
Piece too, Dave's been super, I think, helpful, and a lot of that is behind the scenes too, right? Like a lot of our families even don't necessarily know how much is going on behind the scenes in terms of communication regarding players and making sure that we're doing what's best for the player and the family.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that means not moving a player too soon, or working together to come up with a plan of action for that player in terms of being able to track that player's development, not only on the field, but is it right for them, and what is the best fit or situation for them to continue progressing as a player. But one thing I wanted to ask too is if you could share some of your expectations from the club regarding players. So, like your expectations when you look at your affiliate clubs that you work with in regards to the players that we send to you, because obviously a club like Alexandria, we have players that range from recreational level players all the way up to players who are playing at the highest level or whatever it may be. And a program like P2P, it's definitely a program that is more tailored to a player who's on that pathway to becoming a pro. So I'm just curious and maybe you can share some of what your expectations are of a player that a club, once we agree on it, does, ends up and participates with you guys as part of that program, what that looks like.
Yeah, no, I think, when we got all the clubs together and, the ones that were a part of the P2P network, not only was it the coaches and the people involved in leadership, but all these clubs that are in this area do great work, right? And there's we're very different than some of the other places within other cities within MLS and other places around the world. There's a lot that goes into it. So I think, having the open and honest conversation and recognizing, yes, DC United does this, but Alexandria, Arlington, these clubs do really good work, and DC United recognizes that. We wanted to be very, very respectful of the work that you guys put in over the years. I think, the expectation, from us is just open communication kind of about what you guys are doing and how you're going about your development process. And, I know you guys have a way of which you do it at Alexandria, but can we learn from you and take tidbits? I know, we've had Tommy and Ryan over before to the stadium and learned and exchanged ideas. We don't want to say, hey, yeah, we know everything and we're the experts. So, having that collaborational piece for us is critical from a club standpoint. And then from a player standpoint, knowing that they're receiving, well-rounded instructional training that they can come in and again, it's a process, right? So that we know that you guys have the ability to develop players, and then when they come in, that'll be kind of the test to see, okay, can they add to the environment at DC United, and is it right? Because it's, again, let's face it, pro is a hard thing to accomplish. It's a lofty goal. We strive every day to try to meet that objective, but it's few and far between for players to actually make it that far. And I think that's when it comes back to, okay, it is sport, it's fun, and we'll ultimately, with ASA's help or any of these other clubs' help, if we sign a pro, great. If they go to college, that's great. So we're kind of holistically looking to development, but obviously our eye is on Dave Casper and getting players in front of him to help him have difficult decisions and more players to choose from.
I think that's so interesting, by the way, just like how fine, like it really is a small amount of players when you think of it, obviously,
Yes.
in our country and on a global scale that actually, make it to the professional level. I mean, you can't minimize how difficult it is. It is a very hard thing to do. So I appreciate you kind of touching on that because, I think when you're looking at it from the outside in, sometimes it's really hard to see, or you see these players on TV and they make it look so easy, but it is a very
It's
challenging
been like
thing.
years of meetings and training and coordination and
How many players actually make it into the first team, or that you've seen over the years on average make it into a first team with DC United or at an MLS club or another professional club?
Yeah, I think for us, I think we're second or third in the league with 14 so far.
wow.
And we want to sign kids. That's of course the objective. But Chris Durkin scoring a goal last year was massive for us, right? He's a
Yeah.
homegrown player. He scored his goal, so it's one thing, okay, to sign Moses, Kevin, Griff over the last few years, but can they become real contributors? And actually, obviously, Griff's got a start last year. What can KP do? What can Moses do? Because then we can start to reflect and have a better barometer of kind of the work that we're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
let's get them signed. Can they, break into the 11? Can they actually become contributors? Those are kind of the next goals for us as a staff. But again, when we sign a player, of course, I still keep in touch with all those guys. But youth coaches at this level is to live in the shadows. So you always let the player shine, and you just kind of let them go, and you watch.
Come on, you can't tell me you don't get some satisfaction, like a high level of satisfaction when the player progresses on. You have to.
No, I love it. Like if they, but if they just say thanks, or they score a goal or they start to do it, it's now for the organization. It's not about the academy anymore. It's for the fans out there that come and support the team, and it becomes way bigger than kind of that period of time that you spent with them. To be honest, that's genuine,
I'd be like, hey, don't forget about me when you get. I want the season ticket, season ticket.
Line it up.
Sneakers, right? Can you get some shoes? Yeah, they're
Shoes.
doing all right when they move on. That's for sure.
Dave, what I think so much of what kids and families even that are kind of getting into this process or exploring, so much of what they see are like expectations of the player and what the player should be doing on the field and what practice is like. But what from your side, what do you value in a parent and the relationship a parent has with your program and with how they support their kid that you found, that's really successful and kind of an ideal scenario?
Yeah, no, I think with all due respect to parents, it's a balancing act, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we try to give the ownership to the player and the player-coach relationship, because we feel like that's going to be the most successful relationship in the long term for their players' development.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's, of course, mom and dad need to know what's going on in preseason and the planning and all the coordination. But when it comes to their child's development, let them steer the ship. Let them drive it, because then it's going to be owned by them, and we find that that's going to be a bit more successful from a development perspective if the player really wants it. If they're not relying on mom and dad to have the hard conversation with coach about playing time or what the next steps are, how I can improve. Again, mom and dad need to help parent that player and coach them into that conversation with us as coaches, and let their child shine in the moment. But of course, there's always a time for a parent if we need to step in and have that conversation with them. And I'll have the same conversation I had with a player and just rehab it with the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so that mom and dad may be on the same page and know what was said, but it's a case by case basis. But that'd be my biggest advice to mom and dad. You've done a good job. They're here. You guys are obviously on the right track. Now, let us as the experts do our job, and we'll have those conversations to keep you guys in the loop when needed. But let little Joey let him have the conversation with the coach first, and then if you're not satisfied, we can have the conversation as well.
Yeah, that's another interesting point too, right? Because there's time, like you said before, it's a process with a player. So like, I think sometimes, and this is my own opinion, right? Like sometimes parents may want an answer or they want to know what's happening next immediately. I think that can be, as you mentioned, like a balancing act because it could take more time. And I guess how do you feel about that, there, right? Because as a player, I think at the professional level, there's times where, a coach or whatever it is might show some interest in you, but it's not necessary. Like, from your view, it has to be consistent over time, right? But for that player, from their perspective, it's like, wow, I got some interest. Like they brought me in. They didn't tell me I'm coming back yet. Do they like me or not? And there's a lot of sort of going back and forth in the player's mind. And I think for parents, sometimes that's when they feel the need to step in, right? Because it's, their kid. I guess just touching on a little bit more about that on like how to ease maybe some of that anxiety, if it's possible, in those sorts of scenarios.
Yeah, I think, and that's where we have to do a better job, right? And make sure that our message is clear enough to the player that it's getting to mom and dad. And making sure if you do have that IDP meeting, the parents are still part of that process. At the younger ages, we try to make sure, when Nolan was the academy director, we had the parent a part of that meeting at the younger ages, and let the kids speak, and then let the parents speak, and then if there was something going on after, we could have it. But again, having more documentation and transparency kind of in where your line of thought is, and trying to kind of have that annual plan, so to speak, within the development process. So each parent understands not only the travel and the coordination, but okay, DCI is going to make this decision at this time. I just need to hold tight. And if I'm antsy, then I'll step aside and send the email, which is fine. Of course, if a parent needs to have a conversation, they're a huge part of this, and always will be. And I hope that, continues to give, more parents, if they're on here, information. But again, it's sports. The kids should enjoy it. It's fun. Let them take as much ownership as possible. But hopefully, Chris, that helps answer a bit more of the question.
Yeah, for sure. That's very helpful, I think, and very good information.
Dave, before you got on, we were talking. Well, Chris and I were talking about how maybe a lot of kids who start playing soccer at a young age dream of playing professionally in some capacity, all of ourselves included. So, yeah. And here we all are, just still part of the game, which is important. But what's tips or thoughts you would give to a younger player who has that dream, and what are a couple things you would say this is what you need to focus on at a young age?
Yeah, no, it's good. We just did an Instagram live with Moses, Moses Neiman, and a lot of people were, hey, what's that? How do you become a pro? And I think his answer was best. He's like, look, I love soccer. I have fun. I really enjoyed it as a youth player, and things kind of fell in place for him because he worked hard. He was a student of the game, but he enjoyed that process. He didn't put too much pressure on himself. And I think if you're having fun doing what you're doing, and we all remember going out in the backyard and training on our own when nobody's watching, those things go leaps and miles to help you kind of set yourself above the rest. So to kind of take a page out of Moses's playbook there is just have fun, work hard, be a student of the game, and things, if you kind of set yourself up with the right scenarios and try to get yourself into the opportunities alongside your parents,
Mhm.
things can fall into place for you. And that'd be the biggest message is, just to enjoy the game. And as you get older, find ways to put yourself in, situations where you think you can be set up for success.
Yeah. I love that, and I just think it's super important, especially for parents to hear, because I do think maybe that sometimes parents have a dream and it's like they see their kid might have some talent or at a young age or be fast, and so they're like this is what they want them to do. But similar to kids that are, practicing musical instruments, like if the kid is not taking it upon themselves to go play in their downtime and have a bit of that drive, it's so important to know like they can be great, but maybe just not looking for that professional experience, which is also okay. But a little bit of that, I think, I just love that answer, has to come from like wanting to spend the time in the backyard.
Right. It's the root cause of why you got involved with sports, at a young age, and you quickly grow up, right? It's like they say it's an 8-year process to try to make it to become a pro, or as you just mature through life. And, it's interesting to, everybody wants a secret recipe,
Mhm.
and there just isn't one. But if you enjoy it, you work hard, there's all these cliche sayings, but it's that root cause of why you started to play soccer. And again, if you dream to go after it, you should.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, work hard, folks. You gotta put in work. Was
I
that
want to go out in the backyard now. I'm like, okay.
yeah? But do you notice that most of your kids are working on their own, like without you having to tell them?
Right. Yeah. You use the buzzword of intrinsic motivation, and things like that. They're definitely, you see that inside the kids. They all have a little bit of a fire in their belly,
Mhm.
in different ways to try to improve, not only as an individual right now, but they're looking out for each other. They want the team. They want to get back out there. So to kind of pull it back in light of what's going on, they're feeding off of each other right now just as much as we're kind of feeding off of them as the adult in the Zoom room. So the kids are for sure motivated, that I see. They want to get better and get after it. We've
Yeah.
got some kids posting some early pictures before I'm out of bed. Sometimes it's like something's going on, but
Yeah.
it's good.
They're up. I'm just curious, what is and I don't know how much you can share. What's the first team up to right now? What's
Yeah,
their just getting in their own backyards?
for sure. I think from they're doing a lot of the same, right? It's
Mhm.
everybody. Nobody's really. It's all the same kind of in the fundamentals to
Yeah.
develop coaching soccer. So they're reviewing film. They're having
Mhm.
individual conversations. They're having group meetings, similar to all of us. It's just on a different level, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Was that question from Scott in DC by any chance?
No,
Dave, time for like one more, or
Yeah. Yeah, we could go a couple more.
yeah, Dave. I just wanted to ask too, like, obviously you've been involved with DC United for a while, but kind of a two-part question, just in terms of what you like most in terms of working with an MLS academy.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, what are one or two areas of improvement that you would like to see within the MLS academy framework to improve it?
Yeah, no, I think look, like I said at the beginning, everything for me has kind of come full circle. So I've personally been in the shoes of a lot of the kids, and you know, trying to achieve the objective that I'm very much in line with philosophically with the club, is to produce more pros. But that's not easy. So I think for me, the biggest initiative right now is trying to bring more youth coaches together, and kind of collaborate, and be a part of the process, and kind of set aside egos and whatnot. And clubs, I know everybody has to have their relevant club, so to speak, in this such a saturated competitive market, and we recognize that. But trying to bring more people into our project, either directly or indirectly, to kind of support that initiative. And I think more, that's something all MLS clubs are trying to do. It's a big thing where you're trying to manage relationships in your local soccer market, and different clubs, do different things, but we're all just trying. We all have the common goal to, as an academy, to produce players for the next level. So for me, that's what I'm trying to. A big piece of the agenda since coming on, more collaboration. DMV Union's a good example of clubs getting in. Trying to build the same thing with P2P, our MLS affiliate network, just bringing people together, whether it's for the DMV Union and that initiative, or DC United and our initiative as the pro team in the region. That's the biggest challenge I think in my landscape when you try to build teams out year to year is getting coaches comfortable with the idea of DC United's academy and what they're doing, and just kind of the exchange of ideas and just coming to the table humbly, both ways, right? Yeah, DC United's different, but VDA does great things. Alexandria Pipeline, you guys all do great things that we can learn about, and ultimately, again, put the players first. So that would be kind of my message to the community, but also it's genuine and trying to help build something special here in our academy.
Yeah, for sure. I have a question that I just thought of because I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
What, I mean, I don't know how much interaction or like meetings you have with MLS academies around the country, but do you find that they're kind of like, I don't know, think this program is interesting and cool and are, like amazed by the partnerships you're growing? Because I do think it's a bit unique based on the density of soccer in the area.
For sure. No, it's look, this is a model that's kind of been done before, but not from a club perspective, right? ODP is a good example back in the day. Yeah. But everybody has their own little engine across the league, whether it's Red Bulls in their regional training center. FC Dallas has a massive youth club that feeds into their. Seattle, has a discovery zone. Charlotte's going to, have a discovery kind of platform. So we kind of took bits and pieces of ours, and then, what makes sense into the DMV. And again, you look at the international standard as well, of what's going on. So you're just trying to find out, okay, let's take about all these people having success, and how can we plug this into DC? So there is a massive amount of collaboration between MLS clubs on the French course. That brings a lot of coaches together. But at our events that are kind of the Generation Adidas Cup, there's always side conversations having on, coaches watching and hanging out, and always exchanging conversations about development. That's usually the hot topic, when we all get together. So
humbly, the French course. I mean, yeah, incredible course, man. Like, what? Can you mention though what it is, just briefly?
Yeah, no, it's I think a 10-month, 12-month course in conjunction with the French Federation. It's a boot camp, I guess you could say, of soccer, where we had 5 or 6 destinations across. We went to different MLS cities, and they flew their staff over, and we worked with that club and different set of curriculum, whether it was the different principles of play, whether it was a physical, whether it was a team development. And then within that, they organized club visits. I spent some time in Spain. I was over there for a week, 2 visits to Clairefontaine. And then at the end of it, it wasn't just you had a session, but then you had 5 20-minute presentations to the Federation panel. So, I mean, you're sitting up there with a clicker and getting after it from a presentation standpoint. So it's pretty well-rounded, and when you go, you're always under the gun with them, and they kind of push their kind of methodology, but it's also in conjunction with what are your ideas in your club, right? It's not just, oh, we're the French, we're the best, we win World Cups. It's we do that, of course. They don't let you forget about that. But kind of how can you take this back to your club and make it unique to the U.S. But no, it's a rigorous course. You could do a whole another session on that one. It's pretty fun.
Wow. All right. I feel like I just heard a notification for someone's next upcoming meeting.
Yeah. It's my bad. I gotta clean that up. No, it's been good to kind of catch up with you guys and go live.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys having me on, and always a credit to the work you guys are doing. You're organized. You're a fun club to work with. Chris, working with you guys to get the friendlies going in P2P and kind of supporting us as a club, and looking forward to more collaboration when we all get out of this situation, and everybody stay safe in kind of an unpredictable time.
For sure. Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. This was great. And I think it'll be really helpful because we also talk to people and get asked about the P2P program a lot and how it works. And this is some good information to share, as well as everything else.
For sure. Thanks, Dave, man. Appreciate having you on and taking the time out of your day. You got to do medical stuff.
All right.
Awesome.
Everybody missed the intro music, Chris. So now you gotta really do it up for the exit.
Closing tune, and I look forward to seeing some more of these. It's cool stuff and good work, and hopefully we'll get out of this situation sooner rather than later and get back on the fields and see you guys soon.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Second that. Yep.
There we go. Take care, guys.
Audio's good, Chris. Yeah.